And welcome in, everybody, to the Gen X Transplant Brothers Free Will Burn-In podcast. On Fridays, we do this long form. We're just going to go with it. I'm Steve. This is my brother, Troy. How you doing today, Troy?
Doing great, Steve.
Doing great. You know, Troy, looking back, I'm glad to hear that, by the way. We got to really work on our opening. But looking back,
I don't know what to say.
I don't, you answered the question. So there you go. Objective truth. You feel okay. So, all right. So back to today. Looking back over the past 6 weeks that the channel's been up and going, we've had some highs and some lows on some topics. And one of them that really caught on early was our look at the Sears Catalog and looking back at what it was like in 1973, 1977, and all these dates when we were kids, because we were both born in 1966. So we're at that sort of front end of Gen X. And so there's some younger Gen X out there as well, because I mean, obviously it goes till 1980. So today we're going to revisit the catalog. We're going to take a look at the 1984 Sears Christmas catalog. So, Troy, do you remember, as I get this queued up, what you were doing around Christmas of 1984? You have been 16.
I'd have been 8, 17, 18.
18, excuse me, 18. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I graduated high school. Christmas. I put Christmas behind me by the time I graduated. It was just another day to me.
That's funny because 84 would have been the year I graduated had I not dropped out, which leads me to my poor math skills and coming up with 16 probably. There's that lack of education coming out. Okay, so here we go.
I had to think about it too.
Well, there you go. Maybe it's contagious as being in my vicinity. So here we go. I've got it up on a couple screens here. I'm going to try to shrink this over to the side so I can see a little bit better here. This is the 1984 catalog. And so the first thing I thought about this morning was the fact that though we weren't really, these probably weren't on our Christmas list in 84, plenty of Gen X out there because, I mean, look, if you're born in 75, you're only 9 years old. And who wouldn't want a Barbie or Chipmunks or Hot Wheels? Look at these sleeping bags. And then over here, you got Knight Rider. Yeah, Return of the Jedi, right? So we're already into the Star Wars quite a bit by now. There's Superman. Yeah, Gremlins. Remember Gremlins was huge at this time. Mr. T from the A-Team.
Yeah.
I mean, all that stuff.
Mr. T.
Mr. T. I forget his actual name, but it'll come to us, one of us here in a second. But and then there is that My Pretty Pony or one of those kind of things. I don't know. And then there's the Bernstein Bears. If not, I just know that name from that era. That might not be them. But when I saw it though, I doubt there's a whole lot of difference between those sleeping bags and the ones that we had when we used to go camping, which was basically like, it was like this sort of thin nylon with this whiff of cotton or whatever it was in between. And in no way was padding. It barely kept you anything other than wet because it inevitably was going to be wet on the ground or raining outside. So they weren't really super effective sleeping bags, but they looked good. Did you ever have one of these kind of things?
No, just had a base. I think mine was just basic green. And I remember going camping in the mountains in Arizona. And yeah, that's all they did was protect you. They were not comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Woke up with a migraine because I slept on a rock for a pillow.
Well, you sounded too Gen X. You got up, you drank out of the river, fought a fish for its lunch.
I drank my own urine.
Exactly. So, okay, back to it. But I do remember because when I was by the way, for folks out there, Trent and I split early. He went to Arizona with my father. I went with my mother to Chicago, and for these earlier years anyway, not by 84, but in my earlier years, I had one like this, except I had the kind that was like, we're going outside because it's Chicago winter. It went all the way around your face. It was like huge. It zipped all the way up. And it was my favorite football team, the LA Rams. So I was wrapped up in all this Rams stuff among all the Bears fans. I don't know why nobody ever gave me a hard time over that. We used to go once a year. Whenever the Bears would play the Rams, my stepfather would take me and I'd wear all my Ram stuff. But anyway, side note there, but yeah, these things, I could see a lot of kids back in 1984 hoping to get something like this here coming up on Christmas Day. So well, let's go on to the next thing. Anything else to add about early camping memories or I mean, they didn't even have their own little tote and everything. Look at that. You're high speed there. You got it going on.
Yeah, that is
Yeah, they all.
high quality stuff with a tote. Holy
Exactly.
cow.
And they're what, $20? 19, I guess, yeah, 19.99. Not bad. Oh, whoa, we're far. Okay, next one. Still younger Gen Xers, but still these kids here would have been Gen X at this time. And so there you are. Shout out to all of our younger viewers. We're not going to rub that in forever. That's crazy. Exactly. So there's the My Pretty Pony. Officially, it's a pony world. And look at all those little pink ponies.
Yeah,
Remember when that hit?
I did.
Did-
I remember the commercials being the song even.
yeah, exactly.
I'm not gonna sing it though. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna
no,
sing
don't
it.
do that. We'll have it in our head for a week. Next thing you know, I'm gonna have Barney in there too somehow. But and here we go with the electric toothbrush. Now we did have those even when I was little.
Yep,
I
I
mean,
remember those.
for those Gen Elders, we did have that. So I hope we can still see everybody on the screen here. Yeah, I noticed last time we did the screen share like this, at times either I would be gone or you would be gone or the screen would be gone, or sometimes it would just be the background that I have, which is different today. You can see. At any rate, there we go. So, and for the girls over here, we have we have for boys, little grooming kits, got a little cologne in there, little fake razor. I'm surprised it doesn't have the little cigarettes where you could blow out the
Yeah,
sugar. So it looks like
Pall
cigarettes.
Mall. Some Pall Mall.
And then you'd eat it, like the gum inside. Yeah. Okay. So, folks, yeah, you are listening in on a conversation that I hope you're involved in too. I'm speaking directly to you, particularly Gen X men out there. That we're in this sort of gap in society in so many ways. So why not step back into this gap of our childhood, sort of relive this? So you've probably seen these things, and if you were sitting in the room right now, you'd good chance you'd be saying, "Yeah, I had that, like this white record player. Remember these kind of things?" And it's just the kind where you wind it up. Is that what that? No, that's volume. But there was even one that you could wind, and it powered
Yeah.
itself. An earlier one. And here we go with the still. Now look, now remember in the 73 and 75 catalogs, I think it was, they had early guitar equipment. They had, like Les Pauls, they had knockoffs, but in the SG we looked at, they had like a P bass type thing. And then the drum sets miraculously lost one cymbal one year, as you said, due to parent request. I thought that was hilarious. I wonder if that we should research that. The parents said, no, one cymbal, but two. But you'll notice this one here,
That
this
is it.
one, by this time now, we have Guitar Center on the scene, which is definitely going to impact sales of things like Sears for Christmas for guitar players. Like people like us in 1984, which definitely would have loved to have a guitar for Christmas. Probably not looking in the Sears catalog for it. Certainly not those ones up at the corner there, although we're going to get to one in a second that I do find pretty amazing. But here we got littler kids still. So it's more of a toy drum set, toy guitar almost, but it works. It's a real drum set. Breakdance. See that down there? It says on that drum set bass head says breakdance. Breakdance has hit the scene. Breakdance. Wow. That's an interesting, just random reference. Okay,
Wow.
now look at this next screen. Oh, wait. We're going to come back. I guess it's a couple screens later's guitar. Remember this? And this was huge for us. This would have
Yes.
been on the list in 84. Wouldn't you say? If Dad would have said, yeah, a new Walkman, or tell us about, you have a boombox?
I did. It was silver and it was a 2-track too. That's what I'd record my guitar playing rhythm and then I'd overdub a lead to it. It was great.
Wow. You could overdub with it. Nice.
Yeah, it was
Nice.
pretty cool.
I think most of us probably had one of those kind of Walkmans. I mean, I did. I don't know if I never had the one that was current. Like like today, like I don't have the modern iPhone. I never had the modern Walkman either. But the red tape player you see there, I remember those were very common. And then you
Yeah.
upgraded to the one below, and the Mac
Yeah, you could
Daddy,
disconnect the speakers.
right? Because also most of those they had the wires exposed, so you could actually plug them into bigger speakers if you wanted to. But also, when it came later, not too much later, just 2 years later, when I began trading Grateful Dead tapes, one of those kind of boom boxes with the side that came off had a double tape deck on it. Those things were golden to have in those days because it could dub on regular speed, and Yep. You might remember that. Remember the VW bus I had? That sound in it was one
I
of those things. Yeah.
well, I remember the bus. I don't remember that thing though.
Right. Well, it's not this particular model. Where this one in the middle would be 2 tape decks, which they might have later. But anyway, I don't know if those were out in 84 yet, but they probably were something similar. And here we go, moving into, look at this contraption over here. It's got an 8-track player still, and it has, it's some kind of all this power amp stuff going on down here. These are probably headphone jacks. Maybe there's a headphone maybe here. These could be auxiliary jacks. You might be able to plug guitar into that thing or a microphone. And then a tape deck. Cassette. Yeah, speaker. That's some sound. You almost need a tweet.
That's a big sound, man.
You
Yeah,
almost
they're
need a
probably
tweeter.
still phasing out the 8 tracks, and they still had to have one like when cars had CD players and cassettes in the 90s.
I see what it is.
That's
We missed
probably
this.
that concept. Well,
Look at this down here in the corner. There's a microphone. This is karaoke.
oh, hey now.
That's
Be
probably
back to
early
pick you up at 8.
karaoke. Wow.
Remember
I
that
didn't realize-
commercial?
Which one?
Remember the commercial where the guy had that thing and he was in the back of a convertible and he's had his microphone. He's going, "Hey, good looking, be back to pick you up at 8." They'd all
We're gonna have to find that
laugh.
commercial. We'll have
I
to
know.
find that commercial. Of course, if we found the commercial, it would get zapped. By the way, folks, we've had 3 of our videos have parts cut out because we showed things like that, violations. But 2 times Iron Maiden, and the other time Rat from a commercial in 1984. Remember the episode where we showed the Christmas commercial from 84? And Santa's listening to Iron Maiden, didn't flag him. And then Twisted Sister didn't flag it. And then Rat, Round and Round, came on briefly. Boom. We got popped by the algorithm or whatever. And so it had to remove that.
They're round and round. I'll tell you why. And he never tells us why.
I'm still waiting.
Right. Now we want to know why did it get flagged? Tell us why, Rat.
Not Rat, but it reminded me of Quiet Riot, oddly, when you said that. We still need to tell a story about being down in Tucson one day with Quiet Riot way back in the day, Mr. Patterson.
Boy, yeah.
We'll save that for another day, folks. Yeah, let's not go there yet. Hey, you're going to still need some aspirin. Okay, so moving on. Here we go. Look at this. Now we're upgrading. We have an EQ. Look at that big 5-pound EQ. One of the knobs apparently missing on the EQ here. And we have some faders here, right, left and right. Cassettes, all kinds.
Go. Yeah, they didn't notice that when they took the picture.
I guess not. What could
$170?
What could
you
all
save
these buttons be for?
$170?
Wow, and look at these killer headphones that come with it.
My.
Gee whiz, they get those at Circle K?
And a place to store your LPs below it.
Your LPs, exactly. That is something else for $170. But you know what? I'd take one right now.
I would too.
Absolutely, especially to get me the LPs also. I'll even take the speakers. Headphones, I don't need them. So, anyway.
Things probably broke when you dropped them.
I don't know. Hopefully the guitar thing is in here. I know. Now we're moving into fashion. And so look at how the fashions are changing from the 70s and the bell bottoms, although that was maybe earlier, but still tube socks and stuff. Although we're still in tube stock days. But look at this. How dashing. And the pants.
Pleated pants. Look at those 80s looking hairstyles, getting a little new wave, getting away from disco.
Look at this girl here, man. She's ready to go into a Russian spy movie.
Yeah, all of them are. Holy cow.
They're all named Nikita.
They're Bond girls.
Exactly. That's a set of the Bond. This is really what it is. Oh, no, this is an ad for the new Bond movie.
Yeah.
All right. So, back to this. Okay. Okay, we're all over the map. But I want to show you on this one, Troy. These are the bikes from the day. And I was thinking, oh, yeah, man, 10X tough bikes. And I look at today, I'm like, whoa, they kept up. But check this out. You can't, if you can't zoom in, I'll read you what it says here, folks. But the price is, this bike here is the same as this bike here, price tag, $79, both bikes. After all these years, right? I mean, the most expensive one down here, here's $69. At $89 is number one here. Now you can spend obviously more, like if you get this thing here, $499. But what kind of? I mean, most kids, everyday kids, if you were to take the everyday kid who would get a Sears bike, they're going to be getting these things up here. So, but even that, twice as much is the average. But there is still this little Huffy, and it's a Huffy. Huffy is still going. I know. I mean, it's got that's like being Converse. You know, it doesn't matter what kind of tennis shoe it is. Converse, you automatically think All Stars, and it's a good shoe in that way. So I just wanted to point that out, that the bike thing is still there. Now, whether or not the kids ride them around after dark, drinking out of hoses, I don't think so. But still, man, look at this thing, this hyper bicycle speed bike, 128.
This crotch rocket in the 80s.
I mean, dang, they would have never caught us on these things.
Does that have training wheels on it? Am I seeing training wheels?
That is training wheels. Hit it, kid, right out the gate. So that's awesome. I'm glad to see that's out there. Glad to see. So all you Gen X that have kids that young and well, millennials, if you're watching, welcome. Yeah, I hope they're out there riding those bikes. And the Zers and whoever is out there, I'm sure there's a Beyond Z now. Okay, here we go. The beginning of gaming. And this is more me than you, Troy. I was huge into Dungeons and Dragons from like 78 through like 81. But
I remember that.
Yeah, that was now by this time I'm already gone because it's 84. I'm already playing in heavy metal bands, about to join the army. But Mira, here's the Atari. We had that. Did y'all ever have video game at home?
Nope, never did.
Never did it.
We had the table tennis one from like 1973, where it just went boom, boom.
Oh, like Pong?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Well,
Pong.
that's the OG. Yeah, I mean, that's the old testament of games.
It was really huge, weighed 500 pounds.
Well, that's why it moved so slow. But it sped up. It sped up. You had to move those little things.
Yeah, as time went on, it'd go.
Exactly. Suddenly, you better become Asian really quick, or you're about to lose this game.
Yeah, and you failed every time.
Exactly. This didn't happen, man. All right. So yeah, but there they are, and then I guess here's this one. I don't know. I always forget the names of this one. The one where you rolled the bottles down. I don't know if that's Donkey Kong. I don't think that is, but it's something like those. But this was the kind of ones that we had about this time that my younger brothers, who is a Gen X also, in fact, we're going to be at my brother who is a Gen X but doesn't have a transplant at his bar in Chicago next week. So we'll be talking to John from Chicago. And so he's going to be on, telling us about what it's like being a Gen X bar owner in Chicago. And so, yeah, there we have Atari gaming, huge. I'm sure plenty of people out there all about that. I still, to this day, am a gamer, other games, not of these kind. But then look at this, though. Immediate inundation. All these games, blah, blah, blah. It's like, as soon as you get bored with Tepper, go to Frogger, go to Dig Dog, go to Cubert, go to Centipede, Popeye, Star Wars, the arcade, Bingo. I mean, it just goes on. Mr. Pac-Man, Mrs. Pac-Man, Mario Brothers. Yeah, Mario Brothers. There's another biggie. That was a huge bomb. So it goes what, like Pong, then Pac-Man, and then probably Mario Brothers, and then maybe World of Warcraft, as far as the pillars of gaming and the big major leaps. There's probably something else in between. Probably Zelda or one of those in the 90s. Here we go. This is what I wanted to show you. And it did not work. The screen did not work. It didn't shrink right. But check out these guitars over here on the left, Troy, on the right. Number 2 and number 1. I'm going to try to read through it. I wish I could. Can I bring up a different version of this? I'm going to see if I can see a different version of the writing. No, I can't. But I can I'm going to read it. So this is a headless bass, and this is a headless guitar. They're made by Cort. Do you remember that? Cort?
No, I do not.
I seem to remember the name, but I don't ever remember being around one. But when I saw that, I was like,
you know what? I remember seeing those. Those were big amongst new wave bands.
maybe that's why. And then the other thing is here, look at on the guitar. It says headless electric guitar with Steinberger licensed tuning system. Now you can see it there. It's right here. I don't know if everybody can see it, but it's got the locking tremolo like a Floyd Rose or a Kaler. And I also remember that. I don't again ever having contact with it, but again, maybe I one day at Guitar Center mess around with one of these things or something. But I remember there was a third or some kind of other. I remember this whole other tuning system, and I remember chords. So perhaps at one point I did. But it's a hardwood body, molded fingerboard, dual pickups, active electronics, active. That's like my Olympic guitar that I had the active pickups. Man, talk about bright and powerful. A quick release 6-string setup. I guess that means something to other more loosier type guitar players. Same design philosophy as the bass. And so whatever. So the other one, it has the same. Okay, so the bass. Wait a minute. It's not tremolo. It's a tuning. So you tune from the wrong. Not wrong. You tune from the other end. That's what it is. So it's the same basic function that you would have of the lockdown tremolo, where you're actually doing the fine tuning once you lock them down up here.
Down by the bridge.
Except now they're starting the ass end of the strings on that end, and you've got the front end here. So it's basically you just move the machine heads to the bridge.
Yeah.
Right.
It's crazy.
Pretty much. And then, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it's quicker to tune here than it is here. I don't know. It looks cool. Maybe that's what I
don't think you could have a tremolo on those things.
Yeah, maybe that could be again, as you can tell, I'm pulling this out of something, but I agree with you, Troy. It would be tough you couldn't. Well, I guess, I don't know. The physics of it shouldn't change because you're still effectively making the same tension on the string and allowing it to go down and come back into the same pitch. Whether it's on either end, I don't know. But it would seem at the end that is also probably, well, no, if it's locked down, it's locked down. It's not going to like go around the machine head, but it loosens and they get tighter, cause the pitch to rise. The other guitar I want to look at here, any other comments on I'm hogging everything today, Troy. Any other comments on the
No.
Court?
No.
Yeah, I also realize you're looking at it on a phone, so I don't know. And anybody on a phone, I'm trying to kind of read some of this stuff. So I've got it on a bigger screen here. This other guitar, though, we're not going to go down all of them here. There they are, the standard. They don't have, notice the SG is gone. Now they're Les Paul Strat. And they still have a P bass kind of thing, and this sort of whatever this one is. But number 3 here, this Les Paul, I looked and I saw it. All right, it has 3 tuning knobs. Probably 2 tone, 1 volume, or something like that. And then it has tons of little switches.
Yeah,
I was like, what's going on with those little switches? So I blew it up too. And so this is electric guitar, wine red. It says traditional headstock. Now again, I'm having to read through this stuff. Electric with hard body rosewood fingerboard, adjustable steel rod neck, tremolo bridge, 2 single coil pickups, but they're they're humbuckers in the picture. That's weird. Built-in effects. So these are the switches: phase, vibrato, chorus, and distortion. Onboard control preamp. So the one of those is, so it's probably a tone, a volume, and then something to do with the preamp as far as gain or something along those lines that probably helps with the so-called distortion. Distortion. And then phase. Maybe there's a switch in there also that allows you to control depth and speed.
Just to see what it's about.
I know. I wanted the first thing I said, I want one of those. Yeah, and that little remote amp from the other time we talked.
Let me see what that thing could do.
But I know, because the chorus and the phase and the vibrato would all have it. We'll look into it. But for those that don't know this, and I'm no expert, but briefly, when you have phase, it has a little wow, wow sound to it, but you can change the speed of the and the depth of it. So it could be either or really professional. I'm not going to try to make the sound of a phaser with my mouth. But vibrato is the same thing. That's a sort of vibration sound. It could be a slower vibration, a faster vibration. And chorus is similar to a phaser, except it's sort of, I don't know how to explain this. Instead of taking the whole sound and like running it through like a sort of like a tube, it takes it and adds like a almost harmony layer to it somehow, and splitting the signal. Not exactly clear on how that works, but that's why they call it chorus.
Huh.
So like, for instance, if you, the difference between hearing like Glenn Tipton, just regular straight guitar, like Living After Midnight,
Who
versus the
makes
sound
that? Does
of
it say?
Randy Rhoads guitar. It doesn't say. Like Randy Rhoads, though, lots of chords. It doesn't say. We need to research this. 1984 Sears Catalog. Hey, Gen X friends. It's wine red electric guitar. It has,
Hey,
well, it
Steve.
looks like 2 humbuckers, but they say it's 2 single coils. But yeah. Troy, you asked who makes that? I don't know.
Yes.
And so for anybody out there, there's your homework assignment, fellow Gen Xers. We got to figure out who made this wine red electric guitar with the 2 single coil pickups that oddly look like humbuckers, with built-in effects. There's this picture right there. It's on page 603 of the 1984 Sears catalog. There you go. Moving on, as we wrap up this stroll, we now are at the final screen, and we have to pay homage to the rest of our musical brethren out there and sisterin. Right? Troy, you said something interesting earlier. You said, you know what's one thing I never thought about the whole Gen X thing? And I said, what? He goes, that there's women. It's like everything we talk about is, of course, what we talked about, it's all from a guy perspective. But it seems like most of the time you hear about these things, it is things like, again, here we go, drinking out of a garden hose, all this stuff, which girls did too. Okay, fine, we're even. All
Yeah.
right? And so, again, I don't even know that we really thought about it in a separation in the way that maybe people would think about it today. Like we're excluding anybody, really. Everybody was part of the whole thing. But we just happen to talk about it from a guy perspective because we're guys. So
Right.
anyway, for all of our musician friends out there, regardless of how that is, look, we have our same drum set now at the pro level, with still just the one. They have not, as of 1973 was the last time we saw 2 cymbals and a hi-hat. In 75, they nixed that. And every year since, they didn't have it. I wondered, is that really what happened? I wonder, because remember, we broke down this in the first, you got to go back and look at the first Sears Catalog episode that we did on this. I don't know. But look what we have down here. The gradual morphing of music from humans to machines. A rhythm machine, number 13. Right
Yeah.
here. I zoomed in on it. I can't zoom in because this is a PowerPoint. But the original image, I zoomed in on it, and that's exactly what it is. It has like bossa nova and calypso and all this stuff. The thing that you used to have on your, like on these keyboards over here where they belong, if even there, because it'd be better if the band was saying those sounds in the first place, the congos and all that. But if not, it used to only be reserved to grandma's, like this thing down here. I was going to say grandma's organ at the house. And my grandmother, Claire, my mother's side, this number 4 here, she had like down here in the corner. I don't know if y'all see, I'm looking at the down corner. She had that thing almost perfectly just like that. And I used to sit there, and I remember bossa nova was my favorite one. It would, the music, and I just hit a chord, and all of a sudden the band would start playing with it, or a key, and I just played with it. I got to the point where even though I knew how to play guitar, I didn't know anything about keyboards. I wrote down the letters on all the keys, and on my studio, not albums, my studio songs that I recorded about 20 years ago, I played every instrument on them, including the keyboards, and that's how I did that. Still holding over from grandma's old organ, just like that thing.
I did not know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so I never had one of these types. I mean, I did get a cheap one about 2000 when I was doing those studio recordings, and I had it. I may have had it till the time I moved. I don't remember playing it. Probably not. I think something happened to it probably by 2005 or so. But it was super basic, and it just, only thing I was trying to do was get the sound of a Leslie, of all things, to get a sound of a Hammond B and a Leslie. So
weren't you able to get that?
Absolutely. In fact, we should have a show where we listen to all my songs were on Spotify, but Spotify, it's crazy what happened to it. You have to have a third party that hosts the stream, and since my subscription ran out from that, it canceled my Spotify, so the whole channel was gone. But I still have all the songs.
No.
So anyway, one of these days we'll play some of those, because they can't get me on copyright violations, because those are mostly original material. I think that's it. So, what do you think of our latest stroll down memory lane with the catalog, Troy?
Very interesting. I think the Bond Girls was awesome. And I was looking at I think the Casio drum machine. I remember the first two songs, Eminence Front by The Who was 1983.
Uh-huh.
And that's that, right, is a drum machine. And the same sound was on a song called Clones by Alice Cooper from Flush the Fashion album. I think it was the same exact beat and probably the same machine, circa 83. It might have been from a Sears catalog. I don't know.
Heck, Jimmy Page shops there, right?
Right. Why not The Who and
That's
Alice Cooper?
exactly. Maybe that's where I wonder if there was ever a BC Rich in for sale in there. That's where Randy got his. Screw Doug Irwin. Jerry Garcia got all his guitars from Sears Catalog.
Yeah. That's what it
Eddie
said on
Van
the head of the
Halen.
guitar.
That's right. That Eddie Van Halen model, he got that in the 72. They discontinued it anyway. Yeah, man. Anyway, that's a reference to the first video we did where Troy, back in 73, when he saw that, he saw the guitar being a youngster that he was. And it was the same guitar that Jimmy Page had. And he was like, well, Jimmy Page stops at Sears. I should shop at Sears. So that was good stuff. All right. Well, we will visit the catalog again, but we're going to wait until the spring. And when we do that, we'll start talking about some of the sporting activities and things like that we did in the Gen X community during all those years and even today. In the meantime, we're going to continue to fill this airspace with the lack of where it is exactly Gen X men belong these days, having been sort of come up this sort of ladder of expectations and hitting a brick wall where there's like, okay, now what? We sort of fell in between the cracks in a lot of ways. And we're just sort of talking about that space. We're not bitching about that space. We're just talking about it. And I'm sure it's on the minds of a lot of other Gen X men out there. And so that's what we're doing. Troy, anything else you want to add to this segment of the podcast?
No, as a matter of fact, I don't. It was perfect just the way it was.
Just exactly perfect.
Couldn't have been any different.
There you go. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up. This has been how long? We had a little glitch in the middle, but I think we've gone long enough for the entire podcast. We do have another segment that we're. And in the words of Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. We said we had another segment. We sounded like we closed the show there, though. I mean, we're still here, Troy. You still here?
I'm still here.
You're still here. We even said goodbye. You even pointed at the marshal. Anyway, we
It's
might have
still
clipped
here.
off the little end there, but so we're going to move into some uncharted territory here for both of us. And really the topic in general is just about that. It's we're going to talk more about men today, Gen X age men today, and this will probably also apply to some of the younger boomers. And then who knows? I'm sure it applies throughout all men, 18 and above, or I don't know, maybe even younger. But we're just going to talk about it in the context of us and how it's changed in our experience. Troy and I both were born in 1966, as we say at the beginning of the show. And so things have changed a lot when it comes to so much in the world. And here we are now approaching 60. Both of us turn 60 next year. And it's like the whole world changed in a different kind of way. It used to be you get to a place and it'd be like maybe a canyon or say you're in a desert or something like Thelma and Louise. And there's a cliff, but there would be a way to build a bridge over it. And then you're on the other side and you just keep going. You just keep reinventing. But suddenly we're at this place where there's this thing and we're like in it now. We're not on a bridge. We have no idea where we are. We don't know what happened to where we just were. And we have no idea where we're going. And right now there's like no guidebook. And we're going to start out this conversation. There's so many areas of our lives we could talk about, from finances to jobs to, just goes on and on. But the basic family unit is where it all starts, as we all know. And so today we're going to really light it up and we're going to talk about feminism and its impact on us as a lived experience, not on like how it affected society, because that's not our business. We don't talk that macro level. We're just going to talk about it as it's impacted us. And with the hopes that some of you out there watching us might have some connection to this, or at least resonate in some way with it. If it upsets you, that's fine. If you agree with it, that's fine. We're not trying to really champion any idea other than just sort of tell you how it's felt for us. So Troy, with that long-winded introduction, are you nervous and excited or all the above about talking about something like this?
All of the above. Not really nervous,
Not really
pretty
nervous.
excited. I think this is going to be a good subject.
Good subject. So something changed, and nobody handed out an instruction manual. It's like men have become unmoored now. Like we're just sort of adrift out here. The old rules are gone. New rules are unclear. Like I said, we're in that chasm. When you think about relationships, Troy's over here, by the way, for me. What expectations when you were younger in a relationship? What were the expectations sort of heading into them then versus maybe how it feels now?
When I was younger, girls in high schools, they still had what is now old school mentality of wanting to meet a man, a provider, and be a wife and a mother. That was still there in the early 80s. And you could ask out women, girls back then, just you see a girl in college, hey, get to talking to them and then find a way, hey, would you want to do something Friday night? And it was, yeah, let's do something Friday night. And then you determined whether that was going to go anywhere from that point on. And that's kind of how what you'd call hookup culture now was. You were out to find somebody to spend the rest of your life with, which now relationships seem disposable.
That's an interesting point, Troy. And I'm sure this doesn't apply to everybody, but when you said looking for a person to spend the rest of your life with, you think about falling in love that first time, like in eighth grade, seventh grade, whenever it happened, puppy love, as they called it, if you
Yeah.
had that, or even into high school. That's exactly what you're thinking. Like, this is it. We're going to be together forever and all time. It's going to be paradise. It's going to be awesome. And that was still the way that, well, to be honest, I never really dated just for the hookups. Obviously that took place at times, but that was never an intentional like find. This
No,
when it was
never.
set it up right and engaged. And this is going to sound, I guess, very arcane to people that are in a very modern way of looking at this. But when I would be in pursuit of my target, so to speak, it would be with the intention of like, I really like this person. We could, potentially, I wasn't thinking marriage bells, but that was the vibe.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case today because I'm married. What's it like? So today, you mentioned hookup culture today. Is that your experience or are you just referring to that in general?
It was my experience after my divorce. And then, I mean, I'll be 60 in a couple months. I don't care anymore. But during the hookup culture, the feminist movement was kind of had both of the attitude of I don't need no man, doing their Oprah Winfrey shit thing that she used to do. I don't need no man. And saying, my man's got to be 6 foot tall, 6 digit figure, and six pack abs, both in the same breath, which leads to complete, utter confusion. Well, what do you want? And you'd walk away just confused, to where it's just, I can't deal with you. And you just walk away from it. That's how I ended my relationship experience. I'm not interested anymore at all.
I want to delve too far into this because I know this is more of a maybe Gen Z issue right now, maybe probably
I
millennials to
feel
some degree.
sorry for the younger men out there. I feel absolute sorrow for them.
On that topic, and briefly here, because this is out of our lane to some degree, but maybe I'm sure a lot, well, hell, it probably a lot of, shoot, plenty of Gen X people probably in this. I read an article or something. I watched this a video about all the new conditions that are coming out as a result of the impact of apps on dating. How, everything from how it makes it so impossible, like 1 out of 100 people will reply, then one out of 1,000, you actually meet them. But then the men to women ratio, and then of course the good looking guys are the only ones get. I mean, there's so many different angles on this. And then at the end of the day, this sort of swipe culture in general,
Yeah.
it's just, anyway, I'm not going to go into what the findings were, some kind of research, and it wasn't good.
Well,
And you could see,
there was something I just watched. Oh, I don't know, last week, a term called hoflation. Like, what is hoflation? And it, I don't know if any of you have heard this, but men and women used to be on the same plane, but now the cost of getting a high value woman is more, but the value of the woman is going down to where this is becoming so separate, people aren't getting together anymore because of it. Because of, like what you said, like 90% of the women are looking for that 1% man, and they're not interested.
Yeah, it's kind of like it used to be more about who you are and what you did,
Yeah.
and now it's more about what you look
What
like
you can
on
give them.
paper and what you might be. Right, right, exactly. It's a different kind of future, but
It's
based
not a
on an
future.
entirely different. Well, the what might be. You never know what. Well, you shouldn't be a career criminal for all you know. I mean, that went well, but
Nice ankle bracelet, honey.
can you explain that? Shift supervised way. Oh, at any rate, yeah, but that's definitely. So go back into the other thing. It's like I don't know. For a lot of young men, I think today it's happening, and obviously for our generation, because you've already said it, you're just sort of stepping away from the entire thing. Now, how much does that have to do, do you think, Troy, with libido? Like you're like 60 now and you just don't have any sex drive. I know this is a personal question.
I think that
Versus just this is too toxic.
well, the toxicity started about 50 when I got a divorce at 40, well, 50. We separated at 45. But in between 45 and 50, I noticed the toxicity of women. And by 50, I was like, I don't think I want to do this again. And then slowly it became libido. I enjoy peace, I over chaos. For me, being in a relationship, the one I was in or two that I was in was just complete chaos all the time. And I felt like, and I know there's women out there that aren't this way, but I seem to be attracted to the nut jobs. But I feel like it became, if there's something not chaotic in your life, that she needed to create chaos. And I enjoy at 60 years old peace. I don't want to deal with that anymore. So it's both the feminist movement and turning older and aging to a point where it's just not worth it anymore.
Okay, quickly, I know we're not going to talk politics because I don't want to go down that road, but one distinction I want to make here, my wife is an author that writes on this topic. And she was telling me the other day about the difference between feminine and feminist.
Yes,
And
very good.
feminism, right? Feminine being, femininity and what
Women.
that means, right? Femininity and gender and all this and masculine traits in a male and stuff like that, feminine and female in the traditional sense like that, which she operates, she sees it that way versus the others like feminism and feminist, which are like
Masculine
basically,
traits.
well, aside from that, they are more political now
Yes.
titles than
It's a
anything.
cult. It's a cult.
Man, your little side comments are pretty stoked up here, Troy. You went from masculine traits to cult. So let's break those down. To your first point, masculine traits. Before I delve in, do you have anything to add?
Well, they want to be men now without the responsibility or accountability.
But if they became men, then wouldn't they hate themselves?
They should.
Well, I'm not
They
saying they
should
hated
hate
anybody. I
themselves
shouldn't
for
have
being what
introduced
they're
hate.
not.
Right. Okay. Here, but on following your premise, yes, and this is also something that, again, I'm not trying to shoulder all this stuff on my wife, but she has books about this topic. And she has a new one coming out in March, and we're going to have her on here at some point. I'm losing my way here. What were you saying? I lost my way talking about the upcoming book, masculine. So
Yeah.
yeah, and so here's how that basically goes. That when the traditional feminine woman in the days of the patriarchy, back when you had a male provider and a female homemaker, let's just say that generally speaking, that might sound horribly offensive, but it's kind of replicated throughout the animal kingdom as well. But at any rate, be that as it may, that when women, and there's a lot of reasons why, we're not going to go into Rosie the Riveter and all that, World War II, but when women started going into the workplace, which was made by men and had masculine traits built in of leadership and conquest and struggle and strife, things that are more of the masculine trait of the hunter, the gatherer, all this stuff, and blah blah blah. Not going to go too deep into this. This is very bush league science or even research here. But when women went into that, it was alienating to them, and so they saw that as successful. And then by virtue of all this stuff slowly becoming politicized, that it became more and more women in this place, and it didn't change to a feminine workplace. It changed to a masculine workplace with women now in masculine roles. And so that might be highly offensive. Who cares? That's just the way she sees it. I see it. And I think that had a lot to do with when feminism then became more, because then those successful women felt successful in all this. And I wonder, how did the divorce rate coincide? How did the two go? I mean, this is going to sound horribly offensive to feminists out there, but did they follow the same basic pattern? Like, the more adopted feminism became in society, the higher the divorce rate went. I mean, because on its core, it's teaching women to really play in a masculine role when they enter the masculine workplace, take on masculine traits of you're fired, you're hired, we're going to do this, leadership, all these kind of things. Not saying women don't have power. Women certainly have power. And in most cases, truth be told, and even in my case, the woman in the house probably has 51% of the power, because I'm not going to go that far. She would gladly go that far. And so that's just, hell, check the old Norse, the Viking things. So go read about all that, their history. When the Viking got home, the woman was in charge of the house, and that's not a joke. I mean, that was, at any rate, my point
I think
being,
it was
no, go ahead, Troy.
I think it was that way in the '80s. I think the man made the money and the woman ran the house.
It still was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was happening. And so that brings me to a side note here, just on the waves of feminism. The first one started in the early part of the century. The second one started the Rosie Riveter era in the 50s and all this. I'm not going to mention names, but one that was interesting that I found in looking into this, the first one in the batch that is an actual Gen X person, was Rebecca Walker. She was born in 1969. In 1989, she wrote a book called The Third Wave. And I listened to her speak the other day on YouTube. And I don't know when it was recorded. She didn't look 20, but she didn't look as old as probably we. I mean, she's just a few years younger than us. So she was probably in her 30s. And she was talking about her book. And I watched it, and I did not see anything in there that I fundamentally disagreed with. I mean, I thought she was completely spot on. And I wondered at that time, and again, I'm not an expert on this, but feminism as it showed itself in the 80s had not reached a point that it had such a, what ended up, in my view, negative impact on society. It was there, and it was empowering them, and women were in the workplace, and they were already CEOs. They were already in all these places. You probably already had Sandra Day O'Connor. If not, yeah, was that Reagan? Right? Right. So, I mean, you already had all the, and I'm not saying you, like it was given to you. Okay. I'm phrasing that horribly, but those things were already in place, and it kept going. And then
Well, the
then
name
it
of the book,
changed, and we didn't know what the hell happened.
I think the name of the book says it all, third and wave. Because when you look at waves crashing on the beach, there's not just one, two, or three. Waves keep coming. And
Mm.
sometimes the tide gets higher and the waves get more violent. That's how I see
Well,
it. So we're on what, our fifth wave of it now?
I don't know. And I don't
That's
even
just
want to
my
know.
opinion.
I can't even imagine what it actually is defined as today. I did do this though. I asked ChatGTP to go back and find dictionary versions like Webster's, Oxford, wherever, actual definitions of the word feminism from like 30 on or something like that. And it had the very first ones. And they all had the same basic message until the final one. And they got more specific. At the beginning, it was something vague. Don't quote me on this, anybody. You can go do this yourself. It was, basically to give them equal rights in the workplace and stuff like that. And then the next one would be to to give them extra rights in the workplace, and then maybe a couple other things similar to that. But the language slowly got more and more. Then became like to empower and all this stuff. And it
Right.
got up, and so
Right.
the wording got stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
Rosie Riveter's bicep was getting bigger, but the
Well, it's not
last
about
one,
it was no longer, or it is no longer about equality. It's about power and dominance now. That's how I
right.
feel.
The last one, though, omitted the word woman.
Of course they
All
did.
the rest of them said women up until the most recent one. It did not have the word woman in it anymore.
Because there are men that are women now.
Let's not go down that trail. I don't even want to go down that trail, but I was like, wow, that's
Yeah, let's
kind of
go down
telling.
that road.
I guess so. I guess that's your fifth wave, Troy.
Yeah. Whoa, that was a big one.
Yeah, very colorful too. Okay, so I don't know, but I mean, did anybody ever ask men, what we thought of any of this, or how we're supposed to tell us how we're supposed to adjust, or we just supposed to just figure this out, watching from the sidelines? If it's not like they hand us handouts other than signs.
Yeah,
Did you
well,
get a leaflet? Did you get an email? Latest update on how we're supposed to act?
um, yeah, I don't know how to act anymore. I think it's because I'm 60 and don't care anymore. But I wouldn't know what to do if I was younger, man. The frustration level of, they don't want you. Women don't seem to want a man now. They want to be you, not like you. They want to be you. So, and then you get into the workforce where it's kind of preferred to hire women now. So now you got to compete with them at every level. And I wouldn't know what to do. There's no wonder the dating scene is in the tank, because I think men are confused. I don't know how to handle this. So they just walk away. I won't deal with, because it's chaotic. Yeah, it's become chaos.
Well, I don't have a whole lot more to add on this topic, but I will say in closing, regardless of any of uh, the politics around it, the feminine, whatever behind it, one thing I'm definitely not doing is downing women in general, women or feminists. I mean, everybody's got freedom to do whatever you want. It's America. Hey, knock yourself out. What I don't like is that I do draw a direct line between its evolution and the decline of the family in the United States, and why we can't have things like the childhood we had in the 70s. We're not going to have gas under $1, cigarettes under $1. Remember that? Everybody's saying when they get to be $1, I'm going to quit. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
Way at any rate, we're never going to get that back. So it's a different time, and we don't want to go back there. I like having iPhone or whatever, I mean, it's cool, but we can
Well,
still have the happy families and neighborhoods.
like women say they've never had any power, right? The power of our country or society has been fully in the woman to do what? To have kids, to have a younger generation. There's a lot of power in that because the women are usually the ones who raise the kids. That's where their power was, not in being a CEO or being a man in a man's position. Now women are choosing to not have children now. They're choosing a career to be a man over being what the woman's role used to be. It's a societal collapse in Europe now is horrible. The United States, the demographics are becoming horrible because the women are using that power of choosing not to have a generation behind them. That's power. They just don't understand how much power they used to have that they gave up.
And you want to know, but I'll give you an example of women that are knocking it out of the park as far as I'm concerned. Take a woman that joins the service, and not saying this is a must, but say they also have a family,
Yes.
right? Say and this happens. I was in the service. There was women in the service. They had kids. They weren't in my unit. I was in an infantry unit. In those days, it was only men. Today, women can be in the infantry, which I did not agree with when it happened, but my God, they did it. They graduated the same school I did, so hats off to them. And guess what else they've done? They've actually made it through Ranger School. There's women that have made it through the U.S. Army Ranger School, one of the hardest schools in all of the military. There are even women in the U.S. Army Special Forces, the Green Berets. And get this, recently, a woman down at Fort Benning, Georgia, yes, it's Fort Benning again.
Good.
Well, I think it's actually Almore or something. It's always going to be Fort Benning to me.
Fort Biden.
A woman ranger won the Ranger Challenge, which is extremely grueling. Google it. Go to YouTube. Ranger Challenge. Do woman Ranger Challenge. You'll probably see her doing it. First woman ever to complete the Ranger Challenge, which even the best of the Rangers have a hard time doing. So, I mean, I'm not saying they have to join the military. It could be, I mean, there's any number of roles and even jobs in general. I mean, I'm saying women have to stay in the kitchen, or anything
I
like that.
uh,
But
yeah,
when there's little kids involved, somebody has to be at home. One
I
of the
have
two.
I have a Facebook friend who's a captain in the Army, and her husband was killed in Afghanistan. They both Army people, and she's a mother of 2 kids and a really great person, and I don't know how she does that. I think she's overseas again right now. I'm not sure where. I don't think she can tell me, but she has 2 kids that she's raising with her parents are kinda raising them, but she is an amazing person and
Right.
has done well, and I've seen her kids, and they're really amazing kids. She's a really, really great person. I really like her a lot, respect her a lot.
Right. And I need to back myself up a little bit here. I don't want to be misconstrued as saying that women can't work. Because even when I grew up, my mom and dad worked. Remember, we were latchkey kids, right? But we came home and there was nobody home because mom and dad were at work. And so, at least in my case in Chicago, I guess not as much out there where you were, because your mom was home during the day, I think, mostly, wasn't she? When you got home, your mom would be there. Still, though, you were able to take off and nobody cared. It wouldn't come home till 11 o'clock. But
We
my point
kinda
being
raised
that,
ourselves.
but even in that, like in Neoga, in the early days in Southern Illinois, there was grandpa's house, there was my aunt's house, there was, I mean, 2 grandparents' houses, aunts, uncles all over town. So, I mean, we were unsupervised, yes, but we always had people around us, and we knew everybody in town. If you knock on any door and say there's a problem, anybody's going to help you. And if you're screwing around in somebody's driveway, they might come out and smack you on the ass with a
Yeah,
stick.
it kept you in
It's their
check.
role, right?
It kept everybody in check. You don't wanna mess up because everybody's gonna know, and you're gonna get smacked for
Right.
it.
See, Hillary was right. It takes a village, but that kind of village. That's the kind of village we need. But and I'm not trying to. That sounds, again, man. Listen to me, all these disclaimers. This is how conditioned we become. I can't say it's okay in the '70s to have that happen. On somebody thinking, "Oh my God, he's saying there should be child abuse from random people on the street."
Hey, my
But
parents
these
let me
days,
wear
if
bell bottoms, my parents let me wear bell bottoms in the '80s. That's child abuse.
that's
I had a hard time letting go of bell bottoms, always getting stuck in the
I,
chain of your bicycle.
oh my God, that was another thing. We need that. We'll have a conversation. Springtime, we're going to revisit the catalog again. We'll look at bikes, stuff like that. Definitely, man, change the new. And then the change is coming off in general, especially when you're standing up pedaling and it comes off and you biff on the handlebars. Anyway.
Anyway, back
Okay,
to
folks,
the
that's going to wrap it
subject.
up. No, I think we're done with the subjects. And maybe
Okay.
this is why they see if this is modern men, can you blame them? So anyway, Troy, I fly out of here on Sunday, flying out of the city here in the coffee region. I'll be flying through Bogota, and then from Bogota to Chicago, Illinois, as they say in
Oh, is
Colombia.
it direct from
Chicago.
Bogota to Chicago
And
direct?
yep, that one's
Wow, that's pretty
direct.
good.
And then I'll be getting a tattoo while there with my daughter, which may or may not wind up on the channel, depending on her openness about that. Troy, I think I think I'll be seeing you up there. This will be the first
Yeah.
time in like 20 years. Maybe we'll do an impromptu live up there. Maybe, not promising anything. We will definitely have a version of the podcast next Friday. I will be in Chicago at the time. And then, of course, on Tuesdays, I have my new thing that I'm doing, my Accidental Expat series that I start on Tuesdays. So it's going to be like that now for a while. Tuesdays, we're going to have the Accidental Expat. On Fridays, we have the Free Will Burning, as it's morphed into from Free Will Burning from Judas Priest podcast, and then shorts throughout the week. So if you like this kind of comment, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all those kind of things. But comment. I really want to see what you have to say.
I
Give us
do
some
too.
feedback.
I wanna know.
If you want to blow us out of the water, that's great. If you hate us for what we said, I get it. Freedom of speech. Peace pipe. We're cool. We're not really replying. But to those kind-hearted folks out there, we'd be glad to engage. any conversations you might have, or just any feedback you have at all. Be sure to reach out. You can find me on X. It's SRP Valkyrie on X. You can contact me through there. You can also visit the website, stevepatterson.online, or email me, steve@stevepatterson.online. Troy, anything to say besides Merry Christmas to everybody, and thank you for being a subscriber to those of you who are. Troy, anything?
That thing. Marshall. I have to end with a Marshall. Everybody needs a Marshall.
Just so we could put Marshall in the tag, right? Marshall. So,
Hashtag not.
our lengthy discussion of Marshall amps today. Randy Rhoads, Iron Maiden, Marshall. All the things.
Marshall.
There you go. We talked about those in today's show too. So for those of you that read the description and saw that we talk about them, there you go. We'll see you next week. Ho, ho, ho.
Bye.
Merry Christmas. Take it easy, man.